All right, aloha students. Nice to see you all. Glad you can all be here today. I'm going to continue what is ultimately the story of Julius Caesar. However, it has to do with this guy right here. His name was Augustus Caesar. That was really his title. Yes, Caesar was his name, but Augustus was a title. You'll see that played out here in just a moment. So we're going to continue with the moment from the Ides of March on, and of course the Ides of March being the day that Julius Caesar was assassinated. Okay, and so when we think of this guy Augustus, we have to go backwards here just a little bit. So he was the grand nephew. What does that mean? Okay, that basically means that, let me see if I can get this correctly. Julius Caesar's niece was Augustus's mother. Julius Caesar's niece was a woman named Atia. And Atia, she was an interesting character herself. So it's Augustus. Let's get back. Okay, his given name is Octavius. So let me get back to this. All right. So I want to start with this. I'm going to call him Octavius. Since I've gone to this part of his life, I'm going to call him by what he should be called at this point in his life. He's not known as Augustus until way later on. So Octavius, his father married into the Julius Caesar clan. All right. It's Octavius's mother who's in Julius Caesar's clan. How does that sound? And Octavius's mother, she was the niece of Julius Caesar. Therefore, her children are the grand nieces and nephews of Julius Caesar. So Octavius's father dies when he's 5 years old. Atia takes her son. He's also got an older sister named Octavia. She takes them and literally moves into Julius Caesar's house in Rome. Okay, so now, by all accounts, the young Octavius, who is about 17 years old, and Julius Caesar had a great relationship. The older gentleman, so Julius Caesar is, I believe he is 56 when he is assassinated. All right. So young Octavius, excuse me. So Julius Caesar has just returned from Rome. Remember, he's been gone nearly 10 years. When he left, young Octavius was just a little kid. When he gets back, young Octavius is in high school. He's basically your age. He pretty intelligent young man. By all accounts, Julius Caesar and Octavius got along great. Now, Julius Caesar does not have a true heir. Julius Caesar's wife was unable to bear children. Now, he had borne some children with other women, including Cleopatra of Egypt, and we'll get to that story later on. So he doesn't have a natural heir. He doesn't have a son. So to everybody's surprise, when the will is read, Julius Caesar had named Octavius his heir. Now, of course, Julius Caesar didn't know and didn't plan on getting killed, so he planned on living for years and years and years, and it would have been a big deal, years and years later for Octavius to become the heir. He'd have been in his 20s or maybe even his 30s, but it was a big deal because he was only 17 when this happened. And because of that, certain things about the law of ancient Rome happened. One of which is that he has to change his name, and he changes it from Octavius to Octavian. And the easiest way for me to explain this to you is the ending, the suffix, if you will, of the name changes, and there is a designation as head of the household. And therefore, heads of households made the major decisions for households. So that's why he had to change his name. All right, now I'm going to introduce a new character here, and but let me tell you, this guy is a character right here. This man's name is Mark Antony. All right, now Mark Antony is going to be a major player in the rest of this story. Mark Antony was he was basically a military man who was a close personal friend to Julius Caesar. He was a general, in essence, a general commanding officer in Julius Caesar's army. He was in Gaul with Julius Caesar for the entirety of the Gaul campaign. He also comes back and he has political aspirations as well. And so basically, remember this discussion the last time we spoke about loyalty of Roman soldiers. Roman soldiers were loyal to their generals. So the soldiers of Julius Caesar who were loyal to Julius Caesar, they were also loyal to Mark Antony. To a degree, they were also loyal to this young guy Octavian because he was Julius Caesar's heir. So Roman soldiers, our guy Julius Caesar's killed. So who did he pick? Okay, if Julius Caesar liked him, we like him. That was sort of the attitude. So we have the allies of Julius Caesar, Octavian and Mark Antony, and they end up defeating the senators, the ones who were fighting for the Republic, led by Brutus and Cassius, the leaders of the conspiracy to kill Julius Caesar. So therefore, the enemies of Julius Caesar. This is a continuation of a civil war. So the civil war goes on. The Roman Civil War is going to continue, and it lasts for about 2 years after the death of Julius Caesar in 44. So the final battle was the Battle of Philippi. That's kind of interesting. It's actually in Greece. I find this interesting because we sort of talk about the birth of democracy and freedom and representative government and those kinds of concepts in Greece. And where does the Roman Republic, where does rule of law ultimately die? Where are the forces of the Republic, of the senators, finally killed off? It happens in Greece. So Greece is freedom is born in Greece. Sometimes you could argue that freedom dies in Greece. Isn't that interesting? Brutus and Cassius. Cassius is badly wounded in this battle. He ends up taking his life. Brutus also takes his life. It is said that Brutus took his own life with the same dagger that he used to kill Julius Caesar, and that he never cleaned the blood off of the dagger. He left the blood of Julius Caesar on it for that 2-year period, just in case he would have to commit suicide. So he and Caesar would be, in essence, blood brothers in death. How about that one? So here we go, moving forward. One of the things that occurs is that Octavian and Mark Antony try to maintain their alliance. They don't really like each other. The marriage between Mark Antony and the older sister Octavia is an attempt to solidify this alliance between the two guys. But they don't get along. They don't like each other. They think each other, like Mark Antony thinks that Octavian is a spoiled brat, basically. Okay? Octavian thinks Mark Antony is an uncouth, disgusting human being. Should also tell you that Mark Antony, now, okay, this is going to really throw you. Mark Antony marries the sister. Mark Antony had been carrying on an affair with the mother, Attia, for years. So that's probably another reason why Octavian does not like Mark Antony, because he was having an affair with his mother. This marrying of the sister is partially for show to the Roman citizenry, so they can see the attempt at alliance. The alliance ultimately fails, and as I mentioned, they don't like each other. They can't get along. Augustus was a well-educated, very good at rhetoric and argumentation, and whereas Mark Antony was sort of rough and tumble, and when he wanted to do something, he just charged into it. And they would get into arguments, and Octavian was able to use his power of linguistics to just fluster Mark Antony, and by all accounts, Mark Antony just drove him crazy. Okay, so he moves to Egypt. All right, so we should probably go backwards here just for a moment and we need to bring into this story Cleopatra. She's somebody you've heard of. Okay, so let me backtrack. If you recall, when Julius Caesar won the Civil War, after crossing the Rubicon River, he defeated a man named Pompey the Great. Pompey the Great escapes. He was a consul of Rome and he escapes to Egypt. He is assassinated in Egypt. Okay, so Julius Caesar takes over in Rome. One of the very first things he does is he goes to Egypt and says, we will not allow Roman consuls to be assassinated. And he went to Egypt and he wanted the people who were behind the assassination of Pompey. And he gets them. The people who killed Pompey pay for it, and the Romans and Julius Caesar get him. While he's there, Julius Caesar has an affair with Cleopatra. Cleopatra actually bears a child to Julius Caesar. Remember, he doesn't have an heir of his own, but he does bear a child with Cleopatra. So Mark Antony is there. So Mark Antony knows her. I've read that Cleopatra was actually in Rome on the Ides of March, and Mark Antony was sort of the one to get her out of town to protect her from being assassinated as well. I'm not 100% sure if those stories are correct, but that is a part of the story. So the Roman people don't like her. She's a descendant of a general of Alexander the Great. If you recall, maybe you do, maybe you don't, Ptolemy was that guy's name, and Ptolemy was one of the generals of Alexander the Great. And he got Egypt. Of Alexander's empire, Ptolemy got Egypt. So his descendants ruled Egypt for 300 years or so. Cleopatra was the last of the Ptolemies. So Mark Antony and Cleopatra have a relationship. They actually marry. They end up having 3 children themselves. Don't forget poor Octavia up here. She's embarrassed and she's humiliated by the whole thing. She and Mark Antony had 2 kids. So Mark Antony moves to, and maybe you heard me just say this, he moves to Egypt. He ends up having a relationship, marries Cleopatra, has 3 children with her, including a set of twins. So what they do is they cut the grain shipments that went to Rome. I mentioned to you that Egypt supplied grain. Egypt supplied grain to Rome throughout Roman history. This was a way to start a fight to see who would get ultimate control, because that's what Mark Antony really wants. So now we have the former allies. Gee, does this sound familiar? The former allies who really have nothing in common besides a common enemy. Once the common enemy is gone, what happens to the 2 former allies? They go to war with each other. Cleopatra. So the forces, really the forces of Egypt versus the forces of Rome, fight it out. One of the things that Octavian did to get sympathy from the Roman people, because Mark Antony was popular with the Roman people because Julius Caesar was. So the Roman people liked Julius Caesar, they liked Mark Antony. So Mark Antony was accused by Octavian of becoming more Egyptian than Roman. And believe me, the people of Rome despise Cleopatra with a passion. Octavian is victorious. There was a decisive naval battle called the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. And that is the ultimate victory for Octavian. Both Cleopatra and Mark Antony would rather commit suicide than be taken alive. That's exactly what they both do. Mark Antony commits suicide first. Cleopatra actually meets, Augustus goes to Egypt. It actually goes to Alexandria, Egypt. Cleopatra and Octavian actually meet face to face. He will have nothing to do with her. She ends up committing suicide within the next few days as the city of Alexandria was being laid siege to by the Romans. And ultimately the Civil War period ends finally. And the Civil War period from when, and this has been my point to you all, When Julius Caesar broke the law and crossed the line, when he crossed the Rubicon River, until the final defeat at Actium and really the suicides of Mark Antony and Cleopatra, is an 18-year period. 18 years, dare I say, of chaos, of, you could argue, anarchy, caused by Julius Caesar crossing the line. So the plebeians are exhausted. This is one way to sort of look at this. This is exactly what happens when societies fall into anarchy, and oligarchs always take advantage of this. Oligarchs know that people don't want anarchy and they don't like anarchy, and this is the thing that oligarchs have the patience to wait for. They have the patience to wait for the exhaustion of the common people, of regular folks. And regular folks just say, just let's get on with it and going forward. This is exactly what oligarchs look for. Octavian is named emperor by the Senate. In a very interesting move, he has the ceremony of his crowning as emperor happen on the exact same spot where Julius Caesar fell dead. He has it created, the ceremony created right at that exact spot. This is where we come to the name Augustus. And Augustus is really a title that means majestic. He also was given a title, it was called Princip. And Princip means first citizen. So this is very interesting if you think about this. In Roman history, you basically had a rule of law society in which all citizens were equal, in theory. The common plebeian all the way to the most wealthy senator patrician. All citizens were equal before the law. Just by naming somebody the first citizen implies some sort of differentiation. Does that make sense what I'm getting at? In other words, yeah, we're all citizens, but this guy's the first citizen. So that makes things a little bit different, and then you can see there's a separation between everybody else and ultimately the emperor. He allows all of the three branches to continue to give the impression of republic. And frankly, I should say to you that the three branches of the old republic system will exist for the entirety of the next 500 years that the Roman civilization exists. The three branches will be there, but there's always an emperor above it. Augustus rules for 41 years, and he begins something, and here's a term you should make sure you remember when you are discussing Augustus Caesar, and that is Pax Romana. Pax Romana. This means the time of Roman peace. Pax means peace. Okay, and this is a very important. Okay, so we've gone through warfare, right? Caesar was away for 10 years almost in Gaul. Rome is at war. You have 18 years of on and off civil war after that. War. Augustus comes in and institutes a period of peace. Now, why would this be important? Well, when a society doesn't have to focus on war and external things, a society will focus on internal things. The great building projects that we think of when we think of ancient Rome, the Colosseum, for example, are built during this time period of Roman peace, which most historians talk about lasting for a 200-year period. They can focus on those things, spend society's money on civic and cultural things, not warfare and military things, even though the Romans will always maintain a serious military. So what is a famous line? It's nothing like Veni Vidi Vici, that's for sure, but definitely there is a good line, and he said near the end of his time, Augustus said, "I found the city of Rome built by bricks. I am leaving a city built of marble." Okay? Very fascinating stuff. All right, so let me just do some brief 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Let me make some four quick points here about the importance of Augustus. Probably more important than Julius Caesar. I would certainly say more important than Julius Caesar. The Pax Romana is really sort of the thing that really the Roman Empire really sort of, and I've said this already, that they make an imprint of a cultural imprint in Europe, the Middle East, and Northern Africa. It just gets itself even more imprinted during the Pax Romana. So Roman influence is going to be with us, really, even you could argue, still to this very day. Roman influence is not just on the Italian peninsula. It moves into their territories, like I just said, into the Middle East, into Northern Africa, as far north as England, as far south as Egypt, as far west as Spain, as far east as Mesopotamia. This is a humongous empire, and even when Rome will eventually sort of fall, it'll cease to exist as a civilization, this influence is going to continue to last. Like all of you, Augustus's favorite subject in school was history, and so he was somebody who made sure that ancient history was saved rather than destroyed. We had this discussion on the destruction of historical monuments, didn't we? That in a lot of cases, new regimes and new kings and new pharaohs or what have you will come in and they will destroy the history before them. Invading armies, war, invasion will come in and destroy the monuments and the history. Augustus got away from that. He wanted to make sure that history was saved rather than destroyed because of his love of history and his belief in the importance of history. So let's add one sort of last thing here that may, so you may say, well, this is great. Everything's great here. This is wonderful. This is great. Well, let's just slow down here just for a moment. I just sort of commented to you that when a society is not at war, it's not as focused on external things, it's focused on internal things. That can also be a negative. And let's just sort of make sure we see that this is really a time where we see and it probably was started even before this moral decline of their society. It was really already started, but it really jumps during the time of the Pax Romana. I've described to you that during the Pax Romana, this building was built, all right, the Roman Colosseum. And I've described this building to you as a paradox, isn't it? Because what does this building represent? This building represents everything that's good about ancient Rome. Look at that phenomenal architecture. Look at what they were able to accomplish. Look at how smart they were. Look at this engineering feat. This demonstrates everything, the brilliance of it. This demonstrates everything that was great about Rome. But at the same time, what else does it demonstrate? It demonstrates everything else that was wrong with Rome. And that being, what is the purpose of the building? The purpose of the building was so spectators could come and enjoy the spectacle of death, literal death, not just of animals, but death of people as entertainment. So the paradox of this brilliant building, I think, is very important to keep in mind. And we really start to see this really manifest itself during the Pax Romana. Okay, so I'm just going to put this sort of flow chart up here, and then you can sort of use this if you like. Let's see if I can fit the whole thing in here. So you start with Julius Caesar. You don't necessarily have to copy this down if you don't want to, but the point is you can sort of see how this flow chart works. Here's Julius Caesar, who he's murdered by. Here are his supporters. That breaks off here. They defeat the senators, but they split. Here's the Mark Antony side with Cleopatra. Here's Octavian's side. All right, the split into the Civil War. He gets named Augustus. Okay, so there you have it. The Roman Empire is often running. The chaos created, the anarchy created by the breaking of the law eventually leads to the dictatorship of the Roman emperors. All of the emperors of Rome for the next 500 years, even though they are not from this family of Julius and Augustus Caesar, all of the emperors of ancient Rome will be dubbed as and given the title Caesar. Hail Caesar.
All right, everybody.
Hope you enjoyed that. Next time.